Now, what I want to do is I want to talk about grit in the three different domains: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual domain. I want to dive into how does grit apply to these three areas. A lot of us are familiar with physical grit. Okay, that and you think about that as athletes like Michael Jordan, physical grit. What does that look like here? Um, well, it's when you have grit, there's consistency in training. Remember what I've said. Consistency is undefeated. Showing up regularly, even when the motivation is low. Remember, motivation is the starter. It gets you started. You may have low motivation in getting you started, but that physical grit is going to push you through the fatigue. It's going to push you through your soreness. And when you're tempted to skip a workout, grit's going to be what gets you through. From a personal perspective, for me, the personal example I have for grit is my recent 366-day fitness challenge. To be able to do something of fitness for 366 days straight takes grit. There were times where, I kind of plateaued in my results, in weight loss, in muscle growth. There were times when I had, mild injuries or I was getting signs of injury, that I was, getting warnings of things, which happened recently, as a matter of fact. I had moments of doubt of myself early on. Can I really do this? Is it possible to do this? But grit pushed me through it. Grit, when I had those challenges, pushed me through every single one of those things that got thrown in my way. Wake up one morning and I don't feel like going. The discipline got me out the door. The grit got what put me through that 90-minute workout. Because I had a passion, I had a desire to finish that workout and add that to my 366 days. It was that grit that pushed me to get it done. I'm going to give you an example of someone who is just epitomizes grit. David Goggins. He embodies physical grit. You think about it. How many times did he go through Navy SEAL training? 3 times. He failed out twice and finally got through the 3rd time. And then there's all the challenges that he did working towards the ultra marathons that he would do. The man, he just won't quit. He sees the goal, and grit just pushes him to get there every single time. David Goggins once said, "The most important conversations you'll ever have are the ones you'll have with yourself." This epitomizes that internal struggle, that battle that you have in your head, where grit is going to be the actual ammunition to overcome and win in that battle. It will help take the mind into the physical and take you there. Endurance is a part of this, and the role of physical endurance in building grit is so critical. Think about a marathon again. I brought this up. Consistently training to go to the marathon. And when you're doing the actual marathon, you have to endure. You'll have to ignore the pain at times. That's hard. I did a 5K. That's nothing compared to a marathon. But when I did my first 5K, I ran the whole way through, very first time. And man, I really, really had to push myself through that. Grit is what kept me going to the finish line, because my shins were hurting, my feet were hurting. My heart was racing. I was just challenged beyond belief, but I endured. I endured all the way to the end. I didn't have to crawl, but I certainly was not running at full speed when I got to the end. Yeah, this is a 5K, and I was a little heavier at that point. Probably do a little better now because I've been doing better with my running over the last few years. But um, even on those tough days when you're training and you endure, the grit is what's going to help you get there. Physical grit also has a recovery and adaptation component to it. Now, this is the one thing you have to recognize. Now, 366 days of fitness, I'll admit there were a few days here and there where I had to dial it back, where I'm just doing a walk. I do my 2-mile walk. And that was my lowest, my least acceptable that I could do to chalk it off as a fitness day. And I recently had to do that because my lower back was giving me issues and I had to slow things down. I had to give it time to heal, because if I didn't, then I'm going to end up blowing my goal of 1,000 days. This is after the 366 days were completed. And so you need to have those recovery and adaptation periods in order to come back stronger. It helps you reinforce what's in your mind, but it also helps your body recover and get back on track. Grit is not about reckless perseverance, but about smart endurance. Listen to your body. Be smart about your grit. Do not, there's a point when you do need to push through the pain. But if you're just simply training, you don't need to. When you see your limits, dial it back, recover, and push the ceiling again the next time. Push it further and further every single time. Get stronger and push that limit further. When you hit that limit and you're about to break, you know you got to back off. I mean, when you're in the race and you're in the marathon or in your whatever, when the actual event is there, try not to injure yourself, but you're going to push a little harder than you would if you're just training. So make sure to make time for recovery.